what's happening is that people are starting to get a peek into your sacred world, into what your magic is. Do you see this? Right? Let me know in the comments if you see that journey. And sometimes we think it's this complicated thing, but it's these two very intentional parts that sometimes we don't even realize is intentional. We're just sharing our gift in the way we do, being ourselves, and then all of a sudden people magnetize towards it. Do you understand that? Yeah. And so all of a sudden I'm doing this thing, and I think it's so funny. And he says, "Do you see? You see, it's," and he's explaining me the process. He's like, "You see, it wasn't about the hands. It's about, see you, how you're laughing here. That's you." So now he's taking his process, and then he's showing me myself in that process. So when you're storytelling, you're not storytelling to tell people, "I am a so-and-so guru that takes you into your spiritual depth." You're not telling them, you're showing them through stories that actually happened. And so like sometimes I get, I had a client and he's like, "Oh my God, I was following your structure and I'm not sure, and it just doesn't feel right." And I'm like, just tell them a real life story. Like if you were to tell me a story about your experience in some exotic country, or your experience when you were younger or something like that, you're just telling me a story. And through that story, that's how people see themselves in that story, or they don't. And that's the thing about marketing. Not everyone's going to see themselves in that story. But at an even deeper level, because the story is so embodied, which most of our clients practice is some sort of embodiment practice, it also, and the mind practice and the energetic practice, it also becomes a transmission. Yeah. So then I'll continue this journey I had with Gaston, and then all of a sudden, okay, so we take that picture and I'm like, okay, cool, now I understand the process. And then we did this like Mayan, one night we did, because he was basically there for the whole retreat. This is like a 1 week dance as medicine retreat where your raw self starts to reveal itself. And in that way, when we can see ourselves in our most utmost truth, that's where the healing occurs. And so one of the sort of the climax of the retreat, we did this like cacao Mayan ceremony. This just, cacao is chocolate, right? And so the Mayans had this sacred ritual with this cacao, and there was this beautiful woman, Andrea, who was so connected to that lineage and that ritual. So of course, again, so then I went on a journey with her, and the whole time he's filming, like he's filming and he's taking pictures. So, and then there, when you do rituals, right, like there's other parts of yourself that come out. It's not just the linear intellectual part. It's like we were howling at the moon, and not because we wanted to be weird and spiritual. It just, the spirit of the cacao brought out other parts of our nature. And then there was a certain part where I just started laughing hysterically, and then everyone started laughing hysterically. And again, it wasn't an intellectual process. It was this ritualistic release of what needed to be channeled through. And I'm telling you that story because he saw it all. He witnesses all through his lens. So by the time, so here's another part of the journey. So by the time we got to my actual, it was, I'm in the tropical island of El Salvador, so we did it on the beach on sunrise, and I'm in like my fancy dresses, and I'm like going in the water with my dresses, like, and I'm feeling like a real model, right, and doing all of this stuff, and then actually doing what I do, which is like pray to the gods and laugh and enjoy the ocean because I love water. And all that stuff started to expose itself in front of the lens because we went through that journey. And by the time we got to actually collaborating to the final outcome, because the final outcome was like, I'm going to give you your pictures And he had asked me, what is your intention? So this is another part of the map. Figuring out, like, what's your intention? Because he was telling me his intention, like, okay, you know, I do this thing and you know, gets you to show you your true self, right? And this is my process. And then he asked me what my intention is. So another part of the roadmap is to understand, what is your client's intention? And oftentimes with our clients, they often just feel like, well, I just need more clients. You know, I just need to make more money. I just need to be more, you know, I need to be more, have more of a social media presence. And so as their coach, my process is start to ask them questions so that they can get a little bit deeper to, I don't think that's it. I don't think you want to have just more students. You have a gift that you want to share with the world. So what is that? So I'll ask deeper questions. What are their deepest pains? What do they want most in the world? You know, what are the questions that your clients come to you with? So my part of the process is kind of getting past what people think social media is, and kind of uncovering the veils to go deeper, so that when they actually arrive, just like when you arrive as a teacher, you don't just arrive, like, you do your thing, you do your rituals, you do your practice, you do body practice, you do your chanting, you do your meditation, you do your whatever it is, your burpees, I don't know what it is, to prepare. And you have your notes to prepare for when you're in front of your client. And that's exactly the journey that happens for marketing.